Good morning to you. Many thanks for joining us in news on the Hour on Plus TV Africa. I'm David Alabi, and here are the stories making the headlines. Now we begin our news bulletin with news from across Nigeria. President Muhammadu Buhari has again declined for the third time assent to the Electoral Act Bill 2018. Speaking with State House correspondents yesterday, Senior Special Assistant to the President on National Assembly Matters, Ita Enang, said the President, in a communique to the Senate and the House of Representatives dated the 30th of August this year, stated the reasons for his decision. According to him, the President again declined assent because of some drafting issues that remained unaddressed. Quote, Mr. President is declining assent to the Electoral Amendment Bill due to some drafting issues that remain unaddressed following the prior revisions to the bill. End of quote. The President had earlier declined assent to the bill twice because of the order of elections and a drafting error. The schedule of activities and possible review of the cost of nomination fees is set to be top on the agenda as a meeting of the National Working Committee of the All Progressives Congress, which started on Monday, enters the second day. That's today. The NWC, which started its meeting on some of these contentious issues on Monday, adjourned to reconvene after deliberating for close to 4 hours. Monday's meeting was chaired by the APC National Chairman, Adams Oshiomhole. Speculations arrived that the meeting was adjourned to enable some members of the NWC to attend a meeting of the committee for the Osun State governorship election. Earlier, a group of pro-Buhari supporters on Monday stormed the National Secretariat of the APC to drum up support for the direct primary mode of choosing the party's candidates for the 2019 elections. And still talking party politics, Nigeria's opposition People's Democratic Party has set up an 85-member campaign council to ensure its success in the upcoming Osun State governorship elections. The president of the Senate, Dr. Bukola Saraki, who is also the chairman of the council, urged them to ensure the party emerges victorious in the upcoming polls, alleging that the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, has lost the confidence of the people.
So it is also the issue of free and fair elections going to come to play in this country. Osun State gives us the opportunity again, the last election before general election. And it's also coming immediately after the visit of 2 world leaders to the country, and where they extracted a commitment from Mr. President that he will ensure there will be free and fair elections in this country. This is the first election that's going to come after that visit.
That was the president of the Senate, Bukola Saraki, speaking there. Now, the Independent National Electoral Commission on Monday said it was working on secret balloting to curb vote buying in the September 22nd governorship election in Osun State. Resident Electoral Commissioner in Osun, Olusegun Agbaje, said this while making a presentation on INEC's preparations ahead of Osun elections at the Nigeria Civil Society Situation Room Dialogue Session in Abuja, the state capital.
Well, in the commission, we have decided that we are going to rearrange our cubicles in such a way that it will not be very easy to display your papers, your ballot papers.
Votes are becoming increasingly competitive, and these votes are beginning to have values. That is why people are buying them. If they are valueless, nobody will pay 3,000 or 4,000 for it. They are beginning to see the significance of votes.
The important thing would be to ensure that the legislation on electoral offences, which has been pending in the National Assembly, gets to pass. And
the Acting Director General of the Department of State Services, Matthew Schaefer, has recalled officers he transferred out of the headquarters of the agency when he resumed office on the 1st of August. The decision to recall the officers followed the open directive given Mr. Schaefer by the Chief of Staff to the President, Abba Kyari, who was said to have scolded the new DSS boss for carrying out reorganization in the agency without clearance from the villa. Matthew Schaefer became the acting DG of the service following the sacking of its erstwhile DG, Lawal Dara, Then, acting president, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, SAN, who sacked Dara, ordered him to hand over to the most senior officer in the agency. Lawal Dara was relieved of his position because of the role he played in the deployment of operatives in the National Assembly, an action that portrayed the federal government as an anti-democratic one. Now, UN Special Rapporteur Maria Grazia will assess the issue of trafficking in persons in Nigeria during an official visit to the country from the 3rd to 10th of September. She will meet representatives of government agencies as well as UN officials and members of civil society organizations, especially those working in the field of prevention and victim support, during her visit to the federal capital, Abuja, Nigeria's commercial nerve center, Lagos, and one of the most historical cities in Nigeria, Benin City. Findings from the country visit and recommendations will be included in an official report to be presented to the UN Human Rights Council in June come next year. We now cross over to Plateau State, where there is a sad development. 11 people were killed in Jos, central Nigeria, following gunmen attack. Eyewitnesses said the gunmen stormed the community at about 8:30 p.m. and opened fire on the people before driving off. A statement yesterday by the police spokesman, Theophile Matthias Turner, said, quote, "We immediately mobilized to the scene, and on arrival we discovered that some people were shot. The victims were immediately rushed to Jos University Teaching Hospital, Youth and Plateau Specialist Hospital. 11 persons have been confirmed dead by doctors from both hospitals, while 12 others sustained injuries are still receiving treatment. More security personnel have been deployed in the area to prevent further attacks, while investigation is going on." It's now time to take a quick break. Stay tuned for more news when we return. Don't go anywhere. Glad to have you back. You're still watching news on the Hour on Plus TV Africa. It's now time for our Africa News package. Now we begin with reports that judges at the International Court of Justice started hearing on Monday a case brought by Mauritius, which says it was illegally stripped by Britain of another Indian Ocean archipelago, the Chagos Islands, now home to a major U.S. air base. The case is a test of whether colonial-era deals struck by great powers on small states that later gained independence are legitimate, given the power imbalance. The Chagos are at the heart of a 5-decade dispute since the British decision to separate Mauritius from the archipelago in 1965 in exchange for independence. The United States has leased the Chagos Islands' biggest island, Diego Garcia, since 1966 and has built an airbase there, while the entire population of around 1,500 people were forced to leave. And now we cross over to South Africa, where white South African workers, through their Solidarity Union on Monday, kicked off an industrial action that includes a Go Slow protest that is to develop into full strike. The whites who work for petrochemicals firm Sasol are protesting against discrimination over a share scheme offered exclusively to black staff. And they said they would begin a full strike on Thursday. Quote, "We have a staggered industrial action. Today we have a Go Slow. Our 6,300 members will carry out the duties, but in a slow manner. We plan to ramp up to a full-blown strike on Thursday," the Kerman Solidarity's chief executive said. "We're not against the scheme. We just want it to be inclusive of all workers. South African companies are required to meet quotas on black ownership, employment and procurement as part of a drive to reverse decades of exclusion and apartheid. Meeting the rules makes a company more likely to qualify for government tenders." And at least 8 people were killed by an explosion at munitions factory in South Africa's Western Cape, an emergency official said on Monday. Theo Lane, Cape Town's emergency services spokesman, said the explosion took place in the afternoon at a factory belonging to Rheinmetall Denel Munition in the town of Somerset West. about 45 kilometers outside of Cape Town. Firefighters were searching for at least another 2 workers, according to Lane. The cause of the explosion is still yet unknown. When we return, the rest of the news continues with the foreign scene. Don't go anywhere. And on the foreign scene, 76 Myanmar civil society groups called on Tuesday for the release of 2 jailed Reuters reporters, denouncing their convictions as unfair and an assault on the right to freedom of information. A court found the 2 journalists guilty on Monday of breaching a law on state secrets and jailed them for 7 years in a landmark case seen as a test of progress towards democracy in Myanmar, which was ruled by a military junta until 2011, while Lone, aged 32, and Kyoso Woi, 28, were investigating the killing of villagers from the Rohingya Muslim minority by security forces and civilians when they were arrested in December. They had pleaded not guilty. And US President Donald Trump has warned the Syrian government and its Russian and Iranian allies against recklessly attacking rebel-held Idlib province. In a tweet, he warned of grave humanitarian mistake in which hundreds of thousands of people could be killed. Syrian government forces are said to be preparing a huge offensive on the last major rebel stronghold in the country. The UN says such a campaign could have disastrous consequences for thousands of civilians. The US State Department also warned on Monday that Washington would respond to any chemical attacks by the Syrian government or its allies. Now, the founder of the Haqqani militant network has died after several years of illness, the Afghan Taliban has announced. Jalaluddin Haqqani was a significant militant figure in Afghanistan and had close ties to both the Taliban and Al-Qaeda. His son is believed to have taken over control of the group in the year 2001. The Haqqani network has been behind many of the coordinated attacks on Afghan and NATO forces in recent years. There were no details in the statement about the date or the place of Haqqani's death. It's now time to talk business with Didi Diong.
Welcome to Business News on Plus TV Africa. I am Edidiong Iwang. Well, Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari has requested the Chinese government to help the West African states in the areas of economic development, visa facilitation for business persons and students, tourism infrastructure, as well as foreign direct investments. He stressed that the Chinese government's economic help to West Africa must be complemented by the push from the member states in order to achieve the desired economic transformation. The president spoke at the opening ceremony of the high-level dialogue between Chinese and African leaders and business representatives. While Nigeria's external debt commitment has risen by $11.77 billion in the last 3 years. According to data from the Debt Management Office, the country's external debt rose from $10.32 billion in June 30, 2015 to $22.08 billion as of June 30 this year. This means that the country's external debt commitment has grown by 114.05% in the last 3 years. Although multilateral debt made up to $10.88 billion or 49.28% of the country's external debt profile, most of the increases in the last 3 years occurred in the area of commercial loans. On the activities of the Nigerian Stock Exchange from yesterday, our business correspondent Irene Ubani brings us up to date on all the trades and deals that took place.
First trading day of the week at the Nigerian Stock Exchange closed bearish as the market began with a nosedive when Dangote Cement was down by 18 naira but picked up later in the day. However, at the sounding of the gong, the all-share index stood at 0.03% to close at 34,837.50. Leading the list of top gainers was Dangote Cement, which had a 2 naira rise in its share price when compared to its last close. Okomu Oil also had a 55 kobo rise in its share price from its previous close. With a 5 naira drop in its share price when compared to its last close was Guinness, while Nigerian breweries also dropped by 2 naira 90 kobo, a 2.96% decline. Nigerian breweries had the highest trade with a volume of 19.130 million shares, valued at 1.815 billion naira. And on sectorial indices, NSE Banking and NSE Industrial gained, while NSE Oil and Gas and NSE Consumer Goods both dropped. Market capitalization stood at 12.718 trillion naira and total deals was 3,080. I am Irene Ibani, reporting for Plus TV Africa.
Well, that's it on business news. We now move on to entertainment with Okumbo Taiwo.
And in entertainment, popular Nigerian comedian Basket Mount has been nominated with 5 other top comedians for the annual South African Savannah Comics Choice Awards. The comedian won the maiden edition of Savannah Pan-African Comic of the Year last year, and he has been nominated again this year. Since 2017, the annual South African Savannah Awards, which used to be for only South Africans, has extended its categories to other parts of Africa. The event will take place at the Lyric Theatre, Gold Reef City on Saturday, the 8th of September 2018. 20-year-old American actress, singer, and author Bella Thorne's house has gotten burgled. The actress was in shock over the weekend when conniving thieves managed to force their way into her house in San Fernando Valley, California. The burglars managed to steal $150,000 worth of possessions, such as her vintage clothing and purses, jewelry, and many others. According to sources, this is the second time Bella's mansion has been targeted by thieves in 1 week, as just a few days ago, another set of robbers attempted to break into her property, but they fell at the first hurdle when they realized the actress was in. According to Calabasas Sheriff Department, the police were dispersed as soon as they received the call about the robbery, but on getting there, the criminals had already fled the scene. And that's it on entertainment. I'm Tokumbo Taiwo, and the very best in sports right after this.
And in sports news, former world number 1 Roger Federer has suffered a surprising 3-6, 7-5, 7-6, 7-6 defeat to world number 55 John Millman to reach the US Open quarterfinals. The 37-year-old has not been knocked out this early at a Grand Slam since the Australian Open in 2015, and it was also the first time that he also lost to a player ranked outside of the top 50 at the US Open. Millman will now play 2-time champion Novak Djokovic in his first Grand Slam quarterfinal on Wednesday. Now in other results, 2-time champion Novak Djokovic beat Jorge Sousa of Portugal 6-3, 3-6, 6-4, 6-3 to advance to the quarterfinals, where he will face Roger Federer's conqueror, John Millman. The 31-year-old has never lost to a set against Sousa, who was playing in the 4th round of a Grand Slam for the first time. Djokovic has reached the semi-finals of the US Open in every year, and he has completed since 2006. In the women's event, Maria Sharapova was beaten in the 4th round by Carla Suarez Navarro of Spain 6-3, 6-4 on Monday. The 31-year-old has not gone beyond the quarterfinal stage of a Grand Slam since her return from a 15-month doping ban in April last year. And that's it on Sports Update. That's a news roundup of events at this hour. Remember, the biggest stories live right here at Plus TV Africa. Remember, for more news updates, please follow us at Plus TV Africa. That's on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And do remember to subscribe to our YouTube page at Plus TV Africa. We'll be back later with more stories making the headlines across the African continent and the rest of the world. To join us again, I'm David Alabi, and a good morning to you.